Yes,
for P. Diddy?
yes,
Is that right?
that is true. This whole thing is spiritual. I started calling out to the Lord, but then the demons appeared and they said he can't hear you. I'm dealing with the voice of the Lord every moment telling me to get out of there. If you got that opportunity, you had to take advantage of it because the competition was very stiff.
I'll never forget the sound of the chanting. In a stunning courtroom revelation, a former employee took the stand and described scenes that left not only the jury speechless, but sent shockwaves through the entire industry. From cryptic symbols to eerie, ritual-like ceremonies inside Diddy's lavish mansion, their testimony peeled back the curtain on a world few knew existed. What truly happened behind those opulent walls? Stay with us as we uncover every chilling detail.
Dealing with the voice of the Lord every moment telling me to get out of there.
Right.
So we would all be in the studio and it would almost be ritualistic. We would light candles and as the beats are playing, you know, they would, their hands would be moving like this. Um, they would be chanting different things over the music alone. This is before it goes to the writers. And honestly, I can hear it in my ears like it was just yesterday. It was amazing music. And again, you don't get to those realms without a a supernatural guide. One thing I experienced is that this whole thing is spiritual.
Well, I
Wherever
was
we
with
from?
Dirty Money, and I sung background for them when I wasn't a part of Day 26.
Hmm.
So I was able to be around them through the album process of them creating Last Train to Paris. And what I witnessed was a sober Sean and a regular Sean. Like when he's regular, he's very cool, very giving. Like will invite you to dinner. You know what I mean? Feed you around his table. Um, what up, Playboy? What up? Be very excited. Then I saw a high Sean too, which was very dangerous. So that's why I said I feel like he's in jail, and I'm not judging anybody because I think he needs prayer and help. But he's in jail because he's a danger to himself, first of all, and he's a danger to the world right now. And I think there's a lot of people that are scared that didn't come out in the beginning, that are very scared because it's a scary situation. It's not just him that could possibly hurt you. It's people around him that are still close to him that can hurt you, or it's just really deep, man, with Sean. So I would say I think he's in jail right now just for a good reason.
It began with a shaky voice on a popular podcast. An ex-employee, someone who had spent years within Diddy's inner circle, sat across from the host, hands trembling, voice low. They admitted it had taken a long time to come forward, torn between loyalty, fear, and the weight of what they'd witnessed. But now, they could no longer stay silent. "There were things I saw in that house that still keep me up at night," they whispered. The words lingered like a fog, thick with implication. Though carefully chosen and deliberately vague, the impact was instant. Listeners leaned in, captivated and disturbed. The former staffer described hearing strange sounds echoing through the mansion late at night, chanting, soft whispers that traveled through the vast empty halls. "I always told myself it wasn't real, that I imagined it. But I don't think I did," they said. They spoke of strange symbols carved into doors and furniture, markings that meant nothing to them but felt intentional, ritualistic. The mansion, once viewed as a symbol of luxury, now took on an eerie tone. The secrecy, they implied, was not just about fame or wealth. It was something else entirely. The podcast host pushed for more, sensing how much was left unsaid. But the ex-employee hesitated, visibly weighing every word. Fear, they admitted, had silenced them for years. This wasn't just about a job, it was about survival. "This is bigger than me," they said. The episode exploded online. Clips spread, like wildfire across forums and social media. Theories emerged overnight. Some pointed to occult symbolism, drawing connections between the cryptic descriptions and long-whispered Hollywood rumors. Others dismissed the claims as attention-seeking or sensationalism. Still, there was something about the ex-employee's demeanor, a quiet, restrained terror, that felt undeniably real. You can't fake that kind of fear. One viral comment read, "People began to question, could someone as powerful and revered as Diddy truly be hiding something this dark behind closed doors?" The idea was unthinkable, and yet hard to ignore. As the interview went on, the ex-employee cracked the door open a little wider. They spoke about the emotional toll of staying quiet. "I knew speaking out would ruin me," they confessed. "But the guilt got too heavy. You don't unsee things like that." They described feeling trapped inside the mansion, constantly walking a tightrope between doing their job and ignoring what they weren't supposed to notice. The psychological strain was clear in every word. Toward the end of the episode, the host asked the question everyone was thinking. Would they ever reveal the full truth? There was a long silence. Then, with calm resolve, they said, "One day. They need to know." That promise hung in the air, unresolved, haunting. And then, just when the world had begun to move on, that day arrived. In a courtroom, under oath, the veil was lifted, and the truth no longer had anywhere to hide.
So we make a deal. He allows me to use the studio. And I'm in there creating every day. And a lady comes by and she says, "Hey, I got some cookies, some ganja cookies." And so I eat one. No, I eat one of these cookies and I'm like, man, well, I don't feel bad. So I eat two. Then I eat three.
That's a nice cookie.
Then I eat six.
Lord have mercy.
So after a while, it's like I entered into a red room. It's like everything became red. And I started calling out to the Lord, but then the demons appeared and they said, "He can't hear you."
Demon or demons?
Demons.
How many?
Oh, it was a bunch of them. They all appear and they're talking and they're talking and they're saying, "He can't hear you." And I said, "The blood of Jesus." I said, "It's not going to work." They said, "We got you. And now you about to die. And now you going to hell because you disobeyed God. You're going to hell, buddy." And I felt myself going out.
See them?
I seen them.
What do they look like?
Some of them, they look like gremlins, and one of them looked like a it was like a clown, but with a tiny head and a really big. But it was weird. It was the weirdest thing I ever seen.
Huh.
The courtroom fell into a heavy, breathless silence as the former employee stepped up to the stand. Their voice was steady, but the emotional weight behind it was impossible to miss. Every juror leaned in, the tension thick enough to choke on. This was the moment, the one everyone had waited for. A first-hand account of what had allegedly occurred behind the grand, guarded walls of Diddy's mansion. They began carefully, their words painting a vivid, deeply unsettling picture. It was a night that still haunted them. They had been asked to deliver something to a part of the house that most staff avoided entirely, a place cloaked in whispers and warnings. That night, however, there was no one else to send. As they pushed open the ornate, heavy door, they stepped into a room that felt disconnected from the rest of reality. It was like entering another world, they said. The walls were covered in strange symbols, intricate geometric designs carved directly into the plaster. Some of them shimmered subtly under the flicker of dim, low-hanging lights, as if reacting to their presence. The room was surrounded by tall black candles, their wax flowing in unnatural patterns that looked less like coincidence and more like intention. Each drip and trail seeming to carry meaning. But it wasn't just what they saw that disturbed them, it was what they heard. They paused before continuing, clearly reliving the moment. A soft, rhythmic chanting filled the space. At first, they thought, it was a recording, some atmospheric sound on hidden speakers. But as the tones grew louder and more layered, they realized the voices were real, human. The sound didn't come from one place. It pulsed from everywhere, reverberating off the walls and pressing into their chest. Frozen in the doorway, they tried to make sense of what they were hearing, until something caught their eye. Through a partially open interior door, they glimpsed several figures standing in a circle. Cloaked in long, dark robes, their faces were hidden, their silhouettes defined only by strange metallic ornaments that caught the dim light, badges of rank perhaps, or symbols of role. These weren't costumes, the witness said. They were heavy, concealing, functional. At the center of the circle sat a figure on a raised chair, more throne than seat, its woodwork carved with the same cryptic markings that lined the walls. When the seated figure raised a hand, the chanting stopped immediately. The silence that followed, the ex-employee recalled, was so dense and unnatural, it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. Then, one of the cloaked figures near the doorway noticed them. Their voice cracked as they recounted what happened next. Panic took over. They turned and bolted down the corridor, heart pounding, not stopping until they were locked in their room. I didn't sleep that night, they said, their voice trembling. Or many nights after. The moment had left a mark. I knew. I wasn't supposed to see that. From that night forward, the mansion never felt the same. It wasn't just eerie. It felt alive. Watching. Listening. Judging.
They diagnosed me as schizophrenic and bipolar. Same thing kind of like what Fred said he was going through. I didn't experience thoughts. I experienced other thoughts of being harmed and stuff. You start doing things, I was like walking around Rochester, bro. Like it's like I really like lost myself for like years. And I don't cry about this no more because I'm stronger. But it's like I was going crazy, bro, trying to figure out like what is going on. And the things that I was feeling are coming to light now, and I'd be like, whoa, that had to be God, intervening and removing me from that situation because it could have got really, really bad. I don't know why somebody that evil would. I don't get it. I don't know why somebody would do that to talented, passionate. Yeah, we talented, passionate people. I don't understand. I don't understand why someone would sit down and think about hurting someone. I don't know, or laugh about it after they do it. Like I don't get it. That's why I said none of them are innocent. I'm not here to expose anybody, but none of them are innocent, man. Like none of them are innocent. Y'all all coming after this man for millions of dollars when y'all were a part of it as well. Y'all were down too. Like that's not fair. That's not fair to him. That's not fair.
Did you ever confront Diddy about this?
I kept trying to get in contact with him because all I wanted was an apology. All I kept saying, like, could you apologize? Like, could you just apologize for what I can't talk about right now? But I just wanted to apologize because something was wrong with me, man. Something was wrong. And like on your last Vlad interview, you could look at me and tell like something was wrong. Like I wasn't the dude's person. I wasn't cute. I was like stressed. I looked like I was in a dark place. So like you could tell like something was wrong. Like
that is said towards the end of this video. He said that was very interesting. He said, Q said, had never have came up, I would have never spoken about it because I ain't no snitch. I would have just kept it to myself. That was very, 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 very telling. That was very telling. You could tell that something terrible happened to him, something extremely traumatic happened to him. So obviously something very traumatic and terrible happened to him at the hands of Diddy, but you can also see that there is a level of forgiveness that Q has at the same time.
The courtroom was thick with silence as the ex-employee's testimony pressed on, each word more damning than the last. Diddy sat at the defense table, eyes fixed on the surface in front of him. His face, at first, was unreadable, a mask of calm forged by decades in the public eye. But that calm began to erode as the witness started to detail the alleged rituals that had taken place behind the mansion's closed doors. Unease rippled through the room. Jurors exchanged tense glances. The gallery seemed to collectively hold its breath, the atmosphere charged and waiting to snap. Then came the turning point. The ex-employee spoke of one night that stood out among all others, a night where they claimed Diddy wasn't just present but leading. According to their account, the ceremony took place in the so-called inner sanctum, the same room they had accidentally entered once before. But this time, they said, Diddy was at the center of it all. They described a circle of cloaked figures surrounding him, each one moving in perfect unison to chants that echoed through the space. Diddy, they claimed, stood at the heart of it, his voice guiding the ritual, speaking words the witness couldn't fully understand. The gestures, the rhythm, the structure. It all felt calculated, rehearsed. It felt like I'd walked into something I was never meant to see, the ex-employee said, their voice tight with emotion. Up to this point, Diddy had remained still, his face locked in neutral. But now, subtle shifts began to betray his inner storm. His jaw clenched, his lips pressed into a hard, bloodless line. A barely perceptible shake of the head followed, as if he were trying to push the words out of existence. Then came the detail that cracked everything wide open. The ex-employee claimed to have heard a command, a single phrase uttered by Diddy, that seemed to cast a spell over the group, freezing them in rapt silence. That moment, they said, was when they realized the ceremony wasn't just symbolic. It was about control. They said it was about power, the ex-employee continued. That's what these rituals were for: influence, domination. At those words, Diddy visibly snapped. His head shook violently, and his lips moved, muttering something too low for the microphones to pick up. But when the witness directly named him, accusing him of orchestrating the event to consolidate his authority, Diddy abruptly rose to his feet. "This is all lies," he shouted, his voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade. The gallery gasped. The judge slammed the gavel, repeatedly, calling for order. Chaos erupted. Diddy's legal team surged forward, trying to pull him back into his seat. The jury looked stunned, some wide-eyed, others blinking as if trying to process what had just occurred. The whispers and murmurs in the audience grew louder, escalating until the judge threatened to clear the courtroom altogether. It was a moment, unlike any other,